Hi guys, welcome to Wrestling Perspective, and in this video I will be reviewing the Royal Rumble 2023. So kicking off the Premium Live event was the Men's Royal Rumble match, which I was surprised about. I didn't think this was going to kick off the event. I assumed the women were going to go on first, but they pulled a swerve and they had the men go on first. I'm just going to go through some of the highlights of the match. There was a fair few. I thought it was an enjoyable Rumble. Not as good as I thought it was going to be, but yeah, I did enjoy it. Nevertheless, I think all Rumbles are enjoyable, even if they're not great. But for me, the correct winner won it all. I also predicted Cody as well, which felt pretty good. I was surprised there was no Bloodline involvement. I know they had their big kind of payoff to their storyline with Kevin Owens later on in the night, but I honestly thought we were going to get Sami or Sikoa in the match. I thought it was an incredible showing for Gunther, and he breaks the record for the longest time in a single Rumble with 1 hour and 11 minutes, which I think, you know, only adds to Gunther's, adds to his character and adds to the seriousness of his character as well, and just proves how good he is in ring. Not so happy that Logan Paul got Final Four. I think it makes sense in a way if they're going to do Rollins versus Logan Paul, that he would be in the Final Four with Rollins. But I wouldn't have guessed in a million years he was going to get Final Four. I said Logan Paul versus Rollins might be set up. Lashley and Lesnar has been added to their storyline, and Edge and Judgment Day feud continues, and I assume their matches will be set up for WrestleMania over the coming weeks. I was very surprised to have big hitters come in early, such as Sheamus, Gunther, Drew McIntyre, Lashley, Lesnar and Rollins all coming in the first half of the Rumble. I would have probably saved some of them for being towards the end, especially people like Rollins and McIntyre. I actually had McIntyre to be in the Final Four, which he was nowhere near in the end. We had Edge and Booker T doing returns. I think Edge obviously will be more permanent to continue his feud with the Judgment Day, as I've said before. Good to see Booker. A shame that he spent barely any time in there though. But it makes sense. I mean, he has previously said he didn't want to be back in ring, and now he is, and I know he's doing a match for his own promotion as well. And I thought Dominic Mysterio did a lot better. Well, he had a better performance in general than expected, and I'm kind of glad he took out Ray as well, adding to that storyline, which I assume will eventually pay off, but I don't think they're going to have a match. I think Ray seems pretty adamant that he doesn't want to face Dominic ever. But I think they're still adding to it, which is good. I like the fact he came out in Ray's mask and then attempted to rip it up. I was glad there was no return of The Rock. I know he said he wasn't going to be in shape, but there was a chance he was lying the entire time. But I'm glad he didn't show up. I was disappointed with Karrion Kross getting eliminated second overall and losing to Rey Mysterio on SmackDown. I feel like he's supposed to be like a force to be reckoned with, and he's kind of not coming across like that at all. He's coming across quite weak a lot of the time. The Ricochet and Logan Paul spot, really awesome, a great visual to have. I find it funny that Logan Paul does a better buckshot lariat than CM Punk does. But for me, the right person won. I think Cody coming out number 30 was a bit too obvious. I would have thought he was going to come out maybe early to mid-20s. But again, it doesn't surprise me that he came in 30 either. He looks in great shape, and the closing sequence with him and Gunther to end the match was really good, and they really tested that. They tested the worn-out pec with all the chops he was taking. His chest looked awful by the end of it. But yeah, overall, it was a decent Rumble. I feel like it could have been better. I'll talk about the women's later on. But yeah, I said right winner won. And I'm looking forward to having Cody versus Reigns at WrestleMania, assuming that's the way we're going. Next up, we had Bray Wyatt defeating LA Knight in the Pitch Black match. This wasn't very good, in my opinion. I thought this was just silly bullets for the sake of silly bullets, and not in a good way. You know, it wasn't much of a Pitch Black match. It was more of an Illuminations match, with all the neon lights going on, and obviously the face paint on Bray, and I think visually Bray looked really cool with the contacts and the face paint and the beard and stuff like that, and then the mask later on after the match had finished. But it was unnecessary in my opinion. I think if we just had a regular no DQ match or a Falls Count Anywhere match, and Bray had the mask that he'd had on, but it was kind of to be more in normal light and that kind of thing, it would have been really good. But it just felt like Bray Wyatt again has been given these stupid stipulations and they're not working out. Again, we referenced the House of Horrors match, Swamp Fight, and now this wasn't taken seriously. People have been taking the piss out of it online, and quite right, it was a bit of, it just didn't look very good. I can see why they did it, because it did look cool. The match itself was awful. Yeah, they had a table spot which was alright and some came, but the match abruptly finished, and I don't understand why we've been waiting so long to have Bray come back. We've had this awfully slow build to this first match back, and this being an end result isn't great in my opinion. I was expecting a lot more. I was expecting a lot more impact, a lot more storyline progression with Howdy, and we didn't get that really. I think, I am curious to see where this goes, as far as we saw the Firefly Funhouse in real life, at the end of the match, kind of the end of the attack at the end. I'm confused as to who controls who as far as Howdy and Bray goes, because it seemed like Howdy controls Bray, but then when Howdy jumped off the higher building onto LA Knight, it seemed like Bray Wyatt was controlling Howdy. So it's kind of really confusing, and I know it's not going to be a case of, oh, it's explained on the SmackDown this week. It's going to be explained in about 3 months when, we're all bored. Yeah, it just isn't great. A lot of it is going at a snail's pace. I'll reference about it again in the Extra Bliss match next up. But I just think that overall this isn't great. This isn't a great first match for Bray back. I felt like we didn't need a silly stipulation match to have it back. We almost needed Bray to dominate LA Knight. LA Knight to get some offense in, but Bray almost not sell it, and then have him beat the crap out of LA Knight for a bit, and then that be the finish. You gotta remember that the last thing that happened was LA Knight hit a kendo stick off the top rope, and then Bray hit Sister Abigail, and that was it. And it was just, as I said, it was really abrupt. I didn't like it. It wasn't the worst match of the night, but it certainly wasn't great either. Following that, we had Bianca Belair defeat Alexa Bliss to retain the Raw Women's Championship. In my opinion, the match was meh. It was not very good in my opinion. It didn't even last 10 minutes. I think it was 8 minutes and a bit this was. Maybe it wasn't their fault. Maybe something went long. Maybe the Rumble went long. Maybe the attack after the Bray Wyatt match went long. But it was very disappointing. In my opinion, it was the worst match of the night. It didn't pique any kind of interest. I found myself kind of getting distracted very easily during the match. Again, it finished very quickly as well. But more annoyingly, there was no storyline progression with Alexa Bliss and Uncle Howdy. Bliss lost the match. Howdy's, do you think you're in charge, or do you think you're in control? Video played that we saw on Raw a few weeks ago, and then it faded to black and that was it, which was really annoying. I'm curious to see where Alexa Bliss fits into all this, but if it again is going at snail's pace, and we're going to find out in 3 months why Alexa Bliss is part of this, and by that point people will have lost interest. But yeah, I feel like they had a match on on Raw, sorry, a few weeks ago that was better than this, and that's a shame. I think Bianca Belair's reign is starting to get a bit boring. I feel like she's doing the same stuff every week. She's doing the same storylines all the time. It wouldn't surprise me if she lost the belt at WrestleMania. I don't think she'll lose at Elimination Chamber, though I feel like she should defend it inside the Elimination Chamber. But yeah, I can see her losing it at WrestleMania to, hopefully, the Royal Rumble winner via Ripley. Yeah, this match, very boring, very meh, and yeah, very disappointed. Next up, we had the Women's Royal Rumble match, where Rhea Ripley got the win. I feel like this was fully deserved, and the correct winner got the win here. She was the first woman to go the distance from one to winner, which I liked, but I thought she was going to come in mid-Rumble. I was very worried when she came in number one. But yeah, I liked the swerve that Liv came in number two, even though she was begging to be number one. I thought that was quite good. I like the fact that there was only one legend in it, which was Michelle McCool, and some good NXT representatives in Indy Hartwell, Zoe Stark, and the NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez. Again, some big hitters were in early. Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Shayna Baszler, Becky Lynch all came in the first half. Some big returns as well. Natalya, Shotzi Blackheart, Nia Jax, Piper Niven, Asuka, Chelsea Green. Very glad to see some of them. Yeah, I thought Baszler went out very early. I thought she was going to be Final Four. I'm worried that she's going to end up being lost in the shuffle again, which I'm surprised about with Triple H in charge of creative, especially as he was kind of one of Shayna's biggest fans, especially in NXT. It interests me, Asuka's return, that she's in the Kana type gimmick. I haven't seen any of Kana's matches, but from what I've heard, it's like a darker version of Asuka, or like a darker version of the character, obviously. I like the premise of it. I've been hoping that Asuka was going to have a change of gimmick for the last few months, as I got very bored of her. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this goes, and if it is like a darker, more violent side, and we see that a lot over the few weeks, I'd quite like to see her challenge Charlotte at WrestleMania and have her beat Charlotte. As much as Charlotte's return's been alright so far, and she's a babyface, which I was surprised about, I don't like Charlotte being champion. I feel like she should be out of the title picture for a while. Dewdrop is now Piper Niven, which I know a lot of people are happy about. I'm hoping that she's going to get a more serious character now, as she's back to being Piper Niven. Dewdrop sucked and the name held it back massively, so I'm hoping for big things from her and kind of have my mind changed about her. In my opinion, I would have had Asuka's return and Nia Jax's return swapped. I think Asuka's return had more of a reaction than Nia Jax's, and it would have been made more of an impact if it came in 30 other than 17. I understand that they wanted Nia to look strong by being eliminated by loads of women, but that could have happened from 17 quite easily. The fact they botched the last entrant is almost funny because it was Nia Jax. I don't know whether that was a purposeful thing or not. It seemed quite purposeful, but then, maybe it wasn't. I just found it very funny that out of all the people in both Rumbles, that was the one they fucked up the most. Chelsea Green setting the record for the quickest elimination. I think, I don't know, I've seen a lot of people be very undecided about it. Her husband, Matt Cardona, tweeted about it, being very supportive and stuff. I feel like this isn't a bad thing. I feel like this is only going to add to her character. Quick eliminations aren't always a bad thing. But yeah, I worry for the roster with Nia Jax being back. Hopefully she's been training a lot and has improved in ring. In my opinion, especially in this Rumble, she got treated as more of a kind of big show type entrant. Like, who was going to eliminate her? And then everyone did because she was mouthing out a lot. But yeah, again, for me, it was the better of the two Rumbles. It was match of the night. I liked the progress of characters such as Asuka, Piper Niven, and Liv Morgan, going kind of being the Iron Woman. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see how the women's division progresses over the next few months, especially towards WrestleMania. Hopefully they'll have more of a showing on the card. As I said, Rhea Ripley fully deserving of this one, and I'm hoping she's going to win the title at WrestleMania. And finally, we had Roman Reigns defeating Kevin Owens to retain the WWE Universal Championships. I thought it was a decent match. Not bad, but not the best in their trilogy. I was expecting a lot more involvement of Sami Zayn, but it wasn't. It definitely seemed at one point like Roman was going to win clean. I mean, he kind of did, and to be fair, in the end, which confused me as far as, Sami had a test via Roman, and it just didn't seem like anything was going to happen, which was kind of was demoralizing for watching because we thought there was going to be something big happening during the match, not afterwards. For me, I would have predicted the turn coming tonight on Raw or on Friday SmackDown. But yeah, respect to Kevin Owens for taking the attacks during the match with being put back of the head first into the steps, and for the beating after the match. I know that he's kind of a guy who takes bumps a lot of the time and takes beatdowns a lot, but absolute respect to him for all that. The fact that everyone knew Roman was going to retain kind of took away from it. I don't think anyone would have predicted Kevin Owens getting the win here. And as I said, it took away from the match itself. It didn't feel like Roman's title reign was in jeopardy at any point. And then the turn came, which I was surprised they did on the pay-per-view. I was also expecting it to be a lot more brutal than it actually was. I was expecting like maybe a bit of blood. I know that we still aren't fully for blood in WWE, but I feel like if there was ever a moment, this was it. But so yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot more brutal. It's still a huge moment though. I like the reference to the Shield with Sami Zayn hitting Roman in the back and Roman almost reenacting the way he reacted when Seth Rollins did it. I'm very curious about where Jay comes into all of this. When I first watched it, my initial reaction was that he was going to side with Sami because Roman's first feud under the Tribal Chief character was Jey Uso, who was against all of this stuff, and then he like suddenly changed his attitude on a SmackDown. But either way, as I said, I'm looking forward to see where this goes over the coming months. I'm sure it'll have a massive payoff, probably at WrestleMania or Elimination Chamber. I think we're going the way of Roman defending against Cody and Owens and Zayn going against the Usos. What it'll be for both tag titles, I have no idea. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping they split up the tag titles soon. But yeah, curious to see where Jey Uso goes from here. I've got a feeling it's going to be a case of he'll seem like he's on the side of Sami and then he'll turn on Sami, making it much worse and much more impactful to watch on television. But yeah, overall, the match was okay. I'm enjoying the storyline either way. I'm surprised it happened at the Rumble and was expecting a lot more of the beatdown. But yeah, I said overall, it's a positive overall. I don't want to seem like I was all completely negative about it. I did enjoy it. I was happy with it, and I'm looking forward to see where this all goes. So those were my thoughts and opinions on the Royal Rumble. Do comment down below what your opinions were and what you think is going to happen at WrestleMania. As far as your Rhea Ripley and Cody, as well as everybody else. Very much looking forward to WrestleMania this year. I know that having it under Triple H is going to be quite interesting. Also looking forward to the Chamber, though I'm unsure what the Chamber matches are actually going to be. If I had to guess, I've got a feeling we're going to get a SmackDown Women's Title #1 Contender Chamber and maybe a Mid-Card Championship Chamber. But everything else, I'm not sure. The only thing I think of is we're going to get Sami versus Roman for the World Championships. But either way, looking forward to it, and that'll be kind of the next video up. Will be the predictions for that in a few weeks. But yeah, for now, like, subscribe, all that other stuff, and I will see you guys later on.